Hey guys, so I'm out on my enduro bike. It's been pouring rain for like a week straight, and I filmed this video last night, like almost all of it, and we had like a little gap in the rain. It was amazing, but I realized I kind of forgot to bring something up, so I'm just gonna bring it up right now really quick. That is, well, it's actually a couple of things. Faro rod, if you're new to this, which that's kind of what this video is intended for, like, I just wanted to do like a good, like, kind of like how to get into this kind of video, because I don't find there's any really, like, a lot of them out there on YouTube. So I thought I'd make these. But yeah, if you're gonna get a Faro rod, I really recommend getting one with a hole in it so that you can tether it to your belt or to your pack or to yourself somehow, because it's really easy when you're making a fire and you got a lot going on to like set it down on the ground and forget it. So having it tethered to yourself is really important. You don't want to lose these in general, and you definitely don't want to lose one in a survival situation, so that's important. The next thing is how to strike a Faro rod. So there's like a bit of a controversy with that. Some guys like to put the Faro rod basically right up to like something that they're gonna light, and then like bring the knife, keep the Faro rod still and bring the knife down, and that works really well. But there's a lot of people that don't really think that's safe, because you're kind of moving the knife around and you could slip and your knife could come up on the blade or whatever, right? So the other school of thought is that you keep the knife still and you pull your Faro rod back like that, and that's how you strike it. Sorry, I'm not used to doing this because it's not how I do it. And everything's wet. So anyways, so that's the two school of thoughts on that. What I do is I kind of combine the two. I pull back on the Faro rod, but I also like come forward with my knife at the same time. And what that I like that, because say I'm aiming for this, I kind of pull back and then I push my knife right into what I'm aiming at, and I find I'm just a little more accurate like that. Sorry, my hands are so cold because I've been out. It's fall, it's cold out, and I've been out in the rain all day, so on a motorcycle with the wind, so I'm just really cold. I'm having a hard time doing this, but yeah, that's those are the like different ways you could do it. I just thought I'd bring that up, and yeah, and then this is the rest of the video. I hope you enjoy it. Thanks. Thank you. Hey guys, so this is going to be a video, this is going to be part 2 of how to make a fire with a Faro rod, and this is going to be about natural tinders. So the first one was like feather sticks, and this one will be natural tinders. I apologize for the sound quality. It's storming for a week straight here. This is actually the first bit of sun we've seen in a week. It's been raining non-stop, but it's still really windy. So the sound quality might not be perfect, but I'm gonna do what I can, and it's also gonna be a challenging fire, but we'll get it going. So this is the first thing here. These are leaves. I'm not gonna go through the forest and find a whole bunch of tinders. I actually have my tinder bag with me, and I'll just like show them out of my tinder bag. But my tinder bag is just a bag that I keep on me, and I keep natural tinders in it, and I keep it dry. And that is actually what the frontiersmen and Indians used to do for their flint and steel fires and their bow drills. I'm sure there's lots of times they just walked into the forest and grabbed tinder and made a fire, but most of the time they were prepared, and they had a canvas bag or a hide bag or something that they kept all their natural tinders in for making fires. And that's kind of like the best way to go about it, really, because you're kind of more prepared for rainy situations and stuff like that. But here is leaves, and so leaves work. You can find them on the ground and make a fire with them, crumple them up, use your ferro rod to make a fire, and pull them off a tree or whatever. And you kind of do the same thing with grasses. There's some grasses right here. This is all dead grasses right here that are sorry about that, that are they're dead. They're sitting here, they're dead, they're drying out and all that. Makes awesome tinder. The only problem with these is they're hydrophilic, which basically that means that part of their genetic makeup, like they're designed by God to retain moisture. That's part of their genetic makeup. It's part of their purpose, right? So even when they're dead, they still retain moisture really well. And so the leaves sitting on the ground, collecting dew and stuff like that, take a long time to dry out. And even attached to the tree branch, they'll retain moisture from the tree. Same thing with grass. Grass on the ground connected to the plant will still retain moisture from the plant and dew from the ground. So a lot of the times they're not like the best tinder, really. What really makes these shine is when you disconnect it from the plant and you take it up off the ground so it's away from the dew and wet conditions, and you let it dry out in a tinder bag or a tinder bundle. Once these things have had a chance to dry out and become kind of like straw or, you know, dry leaves, straw is dry grain, but just using that word as an example, then they become incredible natural tinders. They're like amazing. You can, you know, one spark fire with your ferro rod every time, but they are hydrophilic and they do retain moisture really well. So drying these out 90% of the time, or maybe 80% of the time, is the go-to move. Obviously, if it's been really dry and you haven't had rain in a long time, it's going to be easier to just pick this stuff up off the ground and make a fire. But yeah, hydrophilic. Hey guys, so this is birch bark. This is an awesome tinder for natural tinder for ferro rods. It's a great bark tinder. You probably already know this, but you want to peel the stuff that's already shedding. A, it won't hurt the tree taking this stuff, and B, it's just going to be better tinder than the stuff that's still has life in it and is part of the tree. This stuff's just going to be way drier, and birch bark is such a good natural tinder because it's so thin, so it ignites really easy, and I find it burns really hot for a tinder, so it helps like your kindling catch on fire that little bit easier, right? Just because it's a hot burning natural tinder. Hey guys, so this is a lake in northern Ontario. It's called Lake Nipissing. The name Nipissing, it means it's Algonquin, which is and it means big water. Algonquin is a native tribe from the area I live in, and it's like a really large large shallow lake, and it gets like really rough really easily. So you kind of gotta be careful with it. It's pretty intense, but we're gonna make a little fire here. And it's rained, like I said, it's rained for like a week straight, basically. So it's all the wood is really wet. And I'm going to, I'm looking for standing deadwood. That's like kind of, a lot of you guys probably know a lot of the stuff I'm saying, but if you don't, it's standing deadwood is like basically this. So it's a tree that is dead but hasn't fallen over yet, and it's usually really good firewood. That's kind of like what you're looking for all the time, really. But it's especially good firewood in rainy situations when all the rest of the wood is wet, because it's up off the ground basically. Hey guys, so sorry about the sound again, it's really windy, but so here I've got some tinder I brought. I kept them in plastic bags. Usually canvas is a lot better. That's kind of like the go-to one, or if you made like a hide bag, that's what the natives used to use, and they they're pretty much the masters of survival like this back in the day. So here I've got some dried grass, like I was saying earlier. This stuff goes up really well. It's tough to beat that. I separated it from the plant and dried it out, and it's awesome stuff. I'll try and light everything I have on fire so you can kind of see it works, but this is awesome. I usually have a lot more of this, and this is reindeer moss, dry reindeer moss. This is stuff that just died because it's a seasonal, kind of like a perennial, like it comes back every year. But this is the stuff that died, and this is like, when it's dry, it's like one of the best tinders you can get for a Faro rod. Like, it's amazing. And it's a northern moss. It really only grows in northern Europe and northern North America, but there are lots of other mosses like this, like perennial mosses, that they die and then they get really dry and flammable, and they're great tinders. If you don't live in the north, you can maybe do some Google searching and find what mosses work in your area for that sort of thing. But this is definitely a good thing, and a lot of times they're very abundant, right? Like this grows all over rocks, so I can walk into an area and it's just like huge rocks, just like it's covered in reindeer moss, like as far as you can see, right? So I can just harvest a bunch of this stuff, and it's an awesome tinder, and yeah, it's great. Love this stuff. It's also edible. When it's in season, it's not dead. It's edible. You have to boil it really well, or it'll give you like bad cramps. But if you boil it, you can eat it. Sorry. The other thing I got here is, this is cedar bark. So barks are really good natural tinders. That's something that people use all the time. This is cedar bark. So what I did is I took the spine of my knife and I scraped a cedar tree to get the bark to come off, and it comes off just like this, and fine shavings like that, like fluff almost. And it's awesome. You can also use the front edge of your knife if you don't have a sharp spine, but it does dull your knife a little bit, so I use the spine, but it's no biggie. And the most flammable part is the inner bark. That's the really fine fluff-like stuff here. This stuff here, this bigger stuff, this is the outer bark. I personally don't separate it. I keep it all together. The inner bark catches fire really easy, and then the outer bark burns a little bit longer, so your tinder doesn't burn out as fast as if it was just the inner bark. That's what I personally like to do. Birch bark, I've got some birch bark here. That's another type of bark, and that's kind of the same thing. It's the inner bark that is like usually the most flammable. They're kind of like really thin layers that are basically like laminated together. And this is an awesome tinder. Really flammable. I kind of covered that already. another Tinder, and I really wanted to bring it and show, and I forgot. There's two that I didn't bring that I forgot that I really wanted to be part of this, and I'm kind of upset that I forgot them. But so one is punkwood, and I'll try and bring that up again, and I'll just make a video just on like punkwood, I guess. But it's basically just, so like a piece of wood like this, it's sitting on the ground and it's slowly rotting. Well, there's a point where it'll be like, it'll just like, there'll be fiber to it. It'll feel like wood, but it'll just kind of break up in your hand. And that's basically punkwood. It's like rotting wood, but it isn't completely rotten yet. And you take that stuff out, you have to dry it out because it's pretty much, most of the time it's gonna be really damp, right? Because moisture is part of what breaks it down. But yeah, you dry it out and you crumple it up. It'll just crumple up to really fine like powder and little pieces of shavings of wood, and that is an awesome tinder for your Faro rod. The other one that I can't show, it's not that I forgot it, there just isn't anything in season right now, but those would be plant seeds. So like basically dandelion fluff, you get a bunch of that together, that makes a tinder, and cattails, you know, in the late fall. And then you can find their fluff all through the winter and into the next spring, and that makes a really good tinder. And basically any kind of plant seeds that's really fluff-like, when it's dry, it'll catch a spark really easily from a Faro rod. The only caveat to those is they burn out really fast. So usually I use them to like ignite, like say I have a bunch of birch bark, but it's really damp. I just light some of the fluff on fire, and then I put whatever my other tinder that might be a little damper, you know, on top. The plant seed is pretty much gonna catch like the first spark almost every time, as long as it's dry. And then, yeah, you get something else going. I've even, you know, if you got enough of it, maybe, and you spread it out really well, you might be able to use it just as your tinder to get your kindling going, but I usually pair it with something else. So that's just like a brief kind of, if you're new to this and you're kind of wondering what kind of stuff you can use, I'm just trying to give like basically like a brief description of what are some good natural tinders. I really apologize for not bringing punkwood. I feel really like I really wanted to do that. But yeah, that, and then you can just kind of go from there. There's lots of different kinds of stuff you can use. There's really only two mosses where I live that are good for making tinders, but if you live in another part in the world, you know, there's probably different mosses where you live that are good for that. So it's really just about like growing and expanding and finding more and more tinders that you can use, and that sort of thing. And yeah, I'm gonna make a fire with this stuff really quick. All the wood was really wet, but I managed to find, you know, some dead twigs up in trees and stuff that were kept off the ground and out of the moisture, or and a little bit better than the stuff on the ground. And I'm gonna try and make a fire with this stuff, and just to kind of show when you have dry natural tinder, it works really well. Hey guys, so I mixed a bunch of all the tinders I told you about together here, and I just put the grass at the bottom because it's kind of like the most flammable, but I'm gonna use this to try and get a fire going really quick here. The wind is ripping through here, so it's gonna be kind of hard. I might actually, sorry, I'm just gonna stand here to try and shield it a little bit. And I tried to lay my kindling on top of some wood I piled up here so that it was a little off my tinder, not so it doesn't smother it. That if it was dry, it would probably you probably put it right on it. Because things are wet, I'm trying to keep it from smothering my tinder by keeping it elevated a little bit. Sorry guys, I shut the camera off by accident there, but I gotta add some more tinder to it. There wasn't quite enough there. I was being a little chintzy and so this is gonna feel a little bit like watching paint dry, but I basically gotta let it slowly catch. I can't rush it too much. It's hard because this was a really tough, this is going to be a tough fire. Like, it was a really tough fire. We had rain, like pretty heavy rain for a solid week, like non-stop. So, you know, this is a really rough condition to make a fire in, but we'll be persistent and we'll get it. So I actually, I put a couple rocks here to kind of be a little bit of a windbreaker because the wind was ripping right through here, and it was kind of affecting the fire a bit. So I put a little bit of a windbreaker there, but. Hey guys, so it's slowly starting to get established, and I'm just gonna add more wood on, but I'm not gonna rush it. I'm letting the stuff that's on there have a chance to dry out. And so that's basically it. We got a fire going. It was really tough conditions. Lots of wind, not a lot of barrier from the wind, and rain basically for a week. And we got it going. We could just slowly keep adding to it, and eventually we could have a really big fire if we wanted to. I'm not really gonna do that. But yeah, that's kind of it. And that was with natural tinder. If having the tinder bag was a real big help for that, having dry natural tinder. We could have done this with feather sticks. It would have been harder though. So, you know, having that natural tinder just made it a lot more easier. If you're doing this for fun, it made it more enjoyable. And if you were in a survival situation, having natural tinder that's dry would just make a stressful situation, you know, that little bit less stressful, not having to make feather sticks. And you know, I think that was like 1 or 2 strikes with the ferro rod, and basically we had a fire. We had to go slow, and I had to add a little bit more tinder because there wasn't quite enough in there. But yeah, we could have a really big fire and keep feeding it if we wanted to, and then we could use it to dry out wood for our next fire and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, that's kind of it. And this is a really cool spot if you're like not somebody who's into bushcraft and you're just kind of thinking about getting into it. You usually end up finding a lot of cool spots doing this, so this is pretty neat.